We don't need you. I'm going to live with my lover, so get out of here.
To me, his wife, feeding milk to our 1-month-old daughter, my husband coldly declared. He changed completely as soon as my father passed away. What do you mean? We have a baby.
I don't need that monkey.
With a cold gaze towards me, my husband forcibly threw me and the baby out into the pouring rain. With no one else to rely on, I found myself trembling in the park, holding the baby. But it was my despised mother-in-law who came to my rescue in such a dire situation. Come on, let's fight back. My name is Anna, 32 years old. I supported my father, who was the president of a small family-owned company, as his secretary. I got married to Charlie, who was an employee there, and we had been living with my father in my hometown for 3 years. I'm shy and can't even talk to people on my own, but Charlie is outgoing and proactive. I was drawn to him, and it took only 6 months from dating to marriage. Even after marriage, Charlie was kind, and I was happy. Little did I know it was all a facade. My mother passed away when I was young. But I never felt lonely because I received so much love from my father. However, it's not like I didn't want to depend on my mother, I just couldn't say it because I didn't want to hurt my father. So, I was looking forward to visiting Charlie's house before marriage. I imagined a kind mother-in-law, but she turned out to be surprisingly strict. She was a woman full of vitality, studying while being a housewife and passing difficult national exams, completely different from my gentle and quiet father-in-law. When I timidly greeted my mother-in-law. Speak louder and clearly. I can't hear you. When I was considering quitting my job to focus on housework. You can't quit. You learned management from your father, so it would be a waste. You can balance work and housework. Although it was Charlie to take over the company, my mother-in-law insisted that I shouldn't quit my job. Moreover, even when I helped with housework at my in-laws' house, harsh words were thrown at me. You're too passive. Being obedient is different from having your own opinion. Speak up for yourself. Every time I met my mother-in-law like this, I was scolded, and I became depressed, but Charlie comforted me.
Sorry. My mom has always been nagging. I've been scolded a lot too. I have nothing but bad memories.
We decided as a couple to keep our distance from my mother-in-law, and we didn't meet her after that. I thought I was fine as long as I had my kind father. However, about a year after we started living together, my father began to show signs of fatigue and started spending more time in his room. One day, when I returned from shopping, I heard my husband laughing in the living room while on the phone.
Really? My dream will come true soon. Just wait for it.
Not knowing what he was talking about, I approached my husband from behind and asked, "Who are you talking to? What dream are you talking about?" Then my husband, who noticed me, became startled and raised his voice in a way I had never seen before.
Don't eavesdrop on people's phone calls. I hate your lowly behavior.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. After that, my husband started giving me cold looks when my father wasn't around. Moreover, his language became rough, and he started throwing things whenever he was even slightly displeased. I was puzzled by how different he was from before, and the thought of divorce crossed my mind, but I was pregnant with his baby. Hoping that he would be happy when he found out about the pregnancy, I told him about the baby, but I received an unexpected reaction.
Huh. But it's too late to have a baby now.
What do you mean? Aren't you happy?
I'm not good with kids.
I never expected him to say that, and I was shocked. Still, I believed that he would fall in love with the baby's cuteness once she was born. 6 months later, our lovely daughter Olivia was born. When my husband saw Olivia for the first time, his reaction was cold.
She looks kinda ugly.
But my father was overjoyed.
Thank you for showing me such a cute grandchild. You're such a filial child.
Even that strict mother-in-law of mine narrowed her eyes and smiled in delight. She's really cute. Innocent and pure. I could watch her forever. I felt so happy that I had given birth to Olivia. However, our happiness was shattered by a terrible event. When Olivia was about to turn 3 months old, my father suddenly passed away. I didn't know it, but my father had been given a year to live about a year ago.
Actually, I was told about it because of the business handover. He asked me not to tell you because he didn't want you to be shocked, so he told me to keep it a secret.
I see.
He's always been an overprotective parent. That's why you turned into such a dependent daughter.
Looking back now, my husband's words were cruel, but at that time, I didn't care about his insults towards my deceased father or me. I was filled with regret and shock for not noticing my father's deteriorating health. Instead of me, my husband took care of the funeral. I wondered if Charlie looked so lively because of something. Eventually, my husband began to ignore me and stopped talking to me after my father's funeral. I thought he must be busy because he took over my father's company, but I found out later that wasn't the case. Around the time of my father's memorial service, it was pouring rain due to the aftermath of a typhoon that day. As I was feeding milk to Olivia, a woman I didn't know had entered the house and was wandering around inside. She had heavy makeup on and was wearing a brand-name dress, swaying the hem as she walked confidently. The furniture looks old-fashioned, but it seems to have value as antiques. Plus, it's so spacious here. I like it. Feeling terrified of this woman who intruded into someone else's house and said such things, I cautiously asked her, "Who are you? Are you the wife by any chance? I thought you were the maid." "I'm Gigi." She rudely stared at me from head to toe and burst into laughter. "You've got yourself a plain-looking woman there. No wonder Charlie's had enough." I stood there dumbfounded, unable to comprehend what was happening, when Charlie appeared and embraced Gigi.
I don't need you anymore. I'm staying here with Gigi, so get out.
"What do you mean?" "We have a baby." With a cold, sneering glance, my husband replied, "Don't need that monkey either," and tossed in a remark. Although I've never backtalked my husband before, I couldn't stay silent this time. This house is mine. It was given to me by my father.
Unfortunately, I've put this house under my name. You're no longer needed here.
With those words, my husband threw a divorce form with his name filled in, and forcibly kicked me and the baby out into the pouring rain, locking the door behind us. "What are you doing? Open up. Please." But there was no response from inside the house, so I reluctantly headed to the park to seek shelter from the rain while holding the baby. As we took shelter under the toilet roof, I couldn't help but feel lost about what to do next. However, about an hour later, a woman came with an umbrella to cover me. "I've been searching for you. You're still as weak as ever. Aren't you regretting what happened?" I recognized the stern tone of her voice. It was my detested mother-in-law. Unable to retort, I bit my lip, and tears began to flow uncontrollably. Blinded by my husband's true nature, I had been obedient, not even noticing his infidelity as he took away our home and assets. I was furious with my own incompetence. As my mother-in-law hugged me gently and then encouraged me firmly, I realized she was right. I was indeed a weak and pitiful woman. Anna, be strong for Olivia's sake. Now, fight back. Her unexpected words took me by surprise. And how did my mother-in-law even know about what had happened to me in the first place? My mind was filled with questions, but her question, "Is this how you're going to remain?" prompted me to firmly resolve to fight back. Afterward, my mother-in-law took me to the apartment she rented for work. It was a sophisticated interior, with no unnecessary clutter. She had prepared everything I needed, including clothes for myself and necessities for Olivia. After cleaning myself up in the shower and stepping out of the bathroom, I saw Olivia sleeping peacefully in my mother-in-law's arms. As my mother-in-law gazed at her granddaughter's sleeping face with a gentle look, she began to speak slowly. "This is something I've been worried about. That such a day might come." As she revealed the shocking truth, I felt a burning rage surge through my entire body for the first time in my life. From that day on, fueled by my frustration, I made a firm decision to transform myself, both physically and mentally, as my mother-in-law suggested. I followed her belief that if you present yourself well, you'll be treated well. If you're sloppy, you'll receive corresponding treatment. I went to the salon to tidy up my hair, changed into the high-quality suits my mother-in-law had chosen, and learned how to do my makeup properly. During this time, Olivia was looked after by my father-in-law, giving me plenty of time to focus on myself. Indeed, just as I thought. Anna, you shined when polished. Look at yourself. Is this really me? The reflection in the mirror was completely different, but I couldn't help but admit that I looked stunning. With newfound confidence, I headed back to our former home with my mother-in-law. Upon seeing us, Gigi appeared nervous in the presence of the two elegantly dressed women. Who are you both?" I couldn't help but laugh at the formal tone of her voice. "Huh? Charlie's mother and you're Anna?" Once she realized who we were, she hurriedly went to fetch Charlie from the back room, and when he rushed in, he was taken aback by my transformation. "You've become so beautiful. You're unrecognizable. I've come to talk about something important with Charlie." Even my bold declaration took my husband by surprise. I had discarded my weakness. At that moment, my husband turned to look at my mother-in-law standing next to me.
"Mom, what's the sudden visit for?"
"I'm here today as Anna's lawyer." As it turned out, my mother-in-law was a licensed lawyer. Driven by her anger towards my constantly cheating father-in-law, she had passed the toughest exam on her first attempt. I was grateful to have a strong lawyer on my side and declared to my husband, "I want my father's company and this house back."
"What are you talking about now? Everything belongs to me already."
My husband snorted arrogantly, but my mother-in-law remained unfazed. "I have a will entrusted to me by Anna's father. According to this, the company and all assets are to be handed over to Anna." In fact, my father, sensing something suspicious about Charlie's behavior hinting at infidelity, had consulted my mother-in-law. Worried about Charlie, who resembled my father-in-law, notorious for his past infidelities, my mother-in-law had a strict upbringing for him. But people's nature doesn't change easily. When my father consulted my mother-in-law about Charlie, she had already gathered evidence of his infidelity through a detective agency. Gigi worked at the bar my husband frequented, and their relationship had started even before we got married. Charlie and Gigi had been scheming to take over my father's company and assets from the beginning. However, because my husband was not showing his true colors, my father had installed surveillance cameras and was sending the footage to my mother-in-law. Knowing that, my mother-in-law came looking for me after seeing me being kicked out of the house. I thanked my father, who had cared for me until his death.
But this house is already in my name. It's too late to change it now.
You can't change the ownership without my consent. Did you forge documents with my seal without my permission?
That's...
I'll sue you for this. It was at this moment that Charlie finally realized he was cornered and began to beg for forgiveness.
Hey, Mom, I'm your son. Are you really going to abandon me for some other woman's sake? Help me out here.
You're not the son I raised. Besides, I consider Anna my daughter. She also gave birth to Olivia, who is precious to me.
I'm sorry. Mom, you're a lawyer, so you can help me, right?
You're apologizing to the wrong person. Besides, even if I help you now, it won't do you any good. You need to face the consequences of your actions yourself. My husband looked lost at my mother-in-law's stern words, then turned to me.
Anna, I'm sorry. I took advantage of your kindness. I'll break up with Gigi and let's start over again.
It's too late. You've abandoned not only me but also Olivia. I can't trust you anymore. Upon realizing that she was also being abandoned after hearing our conversation, Gigi became angry. Hey Charlie, are you trying to break up with me now? You told me to wait because you have a good cash cow, didn't you? And I even cooperated by pretending to be Anna for the paperwork.
Shut up. You're blabbering about unnecessary things.
At that moment, Gigi and Charlie began to argue. Continue this at the police station.
Please. Spare me the police. I'll return the company and the house.
As I watched my husband cling to my feet crying, I couldn't help but feel immature for not seeing through such a man's true nature. Without saying anything in response, I left with my mother-in-law. Afterward, I filed for divorce at the city hall. My husband and Gigi were arrested for forging documents in collusion. My mother-in-law paid the $20,000 in compensation for my husband's infidelity and $100,000 in child support for Olivia upfront. According to my mother-in-law, Charlie would definitely repay her. The $15,000 in compensation I demanded from Gigi was also paid by her family, and I heard that Gigi was cut off by her parents after learning the truth. I started living with Olivia in my parents' house, raising her peacefully. I became close with my mother-in-law, and I admire and emulate her way of life. As for the company, I entrusted it to the vice president whom my father trusted until I return, and I plan to work as the president with the vice president's support once Olivia turns 1. From now on, I'll live by the lesson of my mother-in-law's words: a mother is strong. How was this story? Please subscribe to the channel as well. Well then, see you in the next video.